When was the last time someone crossed your line, stepped over your boundaries, and you just let it slide?
Think about it. A snide comment at work, a favor you didn't want to give, a moment where your voice should have roared but stayed silent instead. How did it feel? That twist in your gut, that heat in your chest, you know it too well, don't you? We're taught to smile, to nod, to keep the peace. But here's the question that haunts. Why do you let them disrespect you? Why do you trade your dignity for a fleeting calm, when deep down, you're screaming for something more? Here's the brutal truth, the kind that strips away the fairy tales. People don't respect kindness, they respect strength. Weakness isn't a virtue, it's an invitation. You've seen it. The moment you hesitate, the moment you bend, they pounce. Not because they're evil, but because they're human. The world doesn't reward the soft-hearted who crumble. It bows to those who stand tall, unyielding, even when it stings. You've felt the sting, haven't you? Every time you've swallowed your pride, every time you've let them walk away smirking, you've paid a price. And it's not just their disrespect, it's yours reflected back at you. Let me paint you a picture. Meet Tom. He was 32, a quiet guy in an office full of loudmouths. Day after day, his colleagues tossed jabs his way. Tom will do it. Tom doesn't mind. Tom's too nice to care. He'd laugh it off, shoulders hunched, burying the frustration under a forced grin. Until one morning, after a particularly cutting remark about his work, something snapped. He stood up, looked his loudest critic in the eye, and said, "That's enough. I'm done with this." His voice wasn't loud, but it was steel. The room went quiet. From that day, the jabs stopped. Tom didn't become a bully, he became a wall. No one dared cross him again. Why? Because he showed them he wouldn't break. What would it take for you to do the same? I'm talking to you now, reader. Yes, you right there, feeling that familiar ache. You're tired, aren't you? Tired of being the one they overlook, the one they underestimate, the one they step on because they know you won't push back. You've been good, patient, accommodating. And where has it gotten you? A pat on the head, maybe, but not respect. Not the kind that makes people pause before they speak, the kind that shifts the air when you walk into a room. You feel it, that restless churn inside, that clash between wanting to be liked and needing to be seen. It's tearing at you, and it should, because every time you let disrespect slide, you're not just losing their regard, you're losing your own. This isn't about petty revenge or shouting matches. It's about something deeper, something primal. Respect isn't handed out like candy. It's earned, claimed, demanded. And you've been giving it away for free, haven't you? Every silent nod, every forced smile, every "it's fine," when it's not, it's a surrender. But here's where the fire starts. You don't have to keep doing it. Tom didn't. He found the line he wouldn't cross, drew it in the sand, and dared them to step over it. They didn't. Because the moment you stop bending, the moment you show your spine, the game changes. People don't respect you for what you give. They respect you for what you won't take. So what's missing from your life? It's not love or approval, it's power. The power to say no, to stand firm, to look someone in the eye and mean it. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Respect isn't a gift, it's a battlefield. And you've been losing, not because you're weak, but because you've been afraid to fight. But that ends here. You're still breathing, still reading, still capable of rewriting the story they've pinned on you. The question burns. How much longer will you let them walk over you before you rise? The ache you feel isn't shame, it's a call. Answer it, draw your line, and watch how fast the world learns your name. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Niccolo Machiavelli penned those words in The Prince, and they echo through the centuries like a thunderclap, shaking the foundations of our polite illusions. He wasn't a dreamer spinning tales of harmony. He was a realist, staring into the raw heart of human nature. Respect, he taught us, isn't a flower that blooms from kindness. It's a fortress built on strength, guarded by the shadow of fear. So let me ask you this. What if your endless efforts to be loved are the very reason they walk all over you? What if your softness isn't generosity, but a crack they exploit? Machiavelli saw the world for what it is, a battlefield where power decides, not pleasantry. Respect isn't handed to you because you're nice or fair. It's seized, forged in the moments you prove you're not to be trifled with. He didn't care about being liked. He cared about being untouchable. And here's the brutal truth staring you in the face. The world isn't kind to the meek. It doesn't pat you on the back for turning the other cheek. It slaps you again, harder, because it knows you'll take it. You've felt this, haven't you? The way people test you, push you, prod at your edges until you give. If you don't set the rules, they will, and trust me, you won't like the game they play. Picture his world, Florence, 500 years ago, a city of scheming nobles and ruthless ambition. No one survived there by being everyone's friend. Machiavelli watched men rise and fall, and he learned, strength commands, weakness begs. A prince who smiled too much was a prince soon deposed. A leader who bared his teeth held his throne. Now look at your own life. The colleague who interrupts you, the friend who dismisses you, the stranger who cuts you off, they don't fear you, so they don't respect you. They see no cost to crossing you, no consequence to their disrespect. Why? Because you've taught them there isn't one. You've been playing by their rules, not yours. This isn't about cruelty, it's about clarity. Machiavelli didn't preach violence for its own sake. He preached power for survival. Fear doesn't mean they hate you. It means they think twice before they act. And that hesitation, that's respect in its purest form. You don't need to scream or swing fists. You need to stand like a wall they can't push through. The world today isn't so different from his. It's still a jungle, just with better lighting and Wi-Fi. The same laws apply. Show strength and they bow. Show weakness and they pounce. When did you last make someone pause, rethink, reconsider? If the answer's never, then you're not living, you're yielding. Here's where it gets dramatic, where the stakes rise like a storm. You're not a pawn in this game, you're a player, or you could be, if you'd only see what Machiavelli saw. The world doesn't owe you respect, it waits for you to claim it. Every time you let them overstep, every time you shrink to keep the peace, you're handing them your crown. They don't thank you for it, they laugh behind your back. Imagine that, while you're busy being agreeable, they're sizing you up, plotting the next move you won't counter. This isn't a fairy tale where goodness wins, it's a chessboard where power rules. And you're losing, not because you're outmatched, but because you're not even playing. So what's it going to be? Will you keep polishing your halo, hoping they'll notice your glow? Or will you take a page from Machiavelli's book and build something they can't ignore? He didn't care about their smiles, he cared about their silence. That moment when they look at you and know, this one's different. This one won't bend. You're not here to be loved by everyone. You're here to be respected by those who matter. The world is watching, testing, waiting. Show them your strength, let them feel the weight of your will, and watch how fast they learn to tread carefully. Machiavelli knew the secret. Fear isn't the enemy, it's your ally. Use it, rise with it, and let no one dare disrespect you again. Let me tell you about Anna. She was 35, a single mother working in a bustling cafe, always the one to say yes. Need an extra shift covered? Anna's there. A rude customer snapping their fingers? Anna smiles and serves. Her co-workers leaned on her, her boss took her for granted, and she let them. Until one day, a snarky regular demanded a remake of his coffee for the third time, smirking as he complained. Something broke inside her. She set the cup down, looked him dead in the eye, and said, "Make it yourself if it's not good enough." Her voice was calm, but it cut. He froze, paid, and left. The next day, he tipped her double. Anna didn't just reclaim her shift, she reclaimed her worth. Why haven't you? Here's the cold, jagged truth. Every time you let disrespect slide, you're the one swinging the hammer at your own dignity. Not them, you. They might cross the line, but you're the one who leaves it unguarded, who says with your silence, "Go ahead, I'll take it." You've done it, haven't you? Swallowed the insult, shrugged off the slight, bitten your tongue to keep the peace. And for what? A moment of quiet that crumbles the second they do it again. Weakness isn't their victory, it's your surrender. You're paying a price, and it's steeper than you think. Look at yourself, reader. Right now, wherever you are, I'm talking to you. How many times have you choked down the no that burned in your throat? How many times have you smiled when you wanted to snarl, nodded when you wanted to walk away? I see you, carrying that weight, that quiet rage you bury, because confrontation feels too heavy. But it's not peace you're buying, it's a cage. Every yes you don't mean, every boundary you don't defend, is a bar you weld into place. You're not avoiding conflict, you're inviting disrespect, teaching them you're a doormat they can wipe their feet on. Why do you allow it? Why do you keep paying with pieces of yourself? There's a reason, and it's carved deep in your mind. Psychology calls it the fear of rejection, that primal itch that whispers. If you push back, they'll turn away. If you stand up, they'll hate you. So you shrink, you appease, you sacrifice your respect to keep their approval. It's a trap, a lie your brain spins to keep you safe. But safe from what? From growth? From power? Anna didn't lose friends when she said no, she gained respect. The customer didn't storm off forever, he came back quieter, humbler. People don't abandon you for having a spine, they fear you for it, and that fear shifts the game. But you're still playing small, terrified of a rejection that never comes the way you imagine. This is where it hurts, where the raw edge bites. You hear it, don't you? That crack inside, splintering louder every time you let them win. It's not just your pride, it's your foundation, crumbling under the weight of their expectations and your refusal to fight back. Anna felt it too, night after night, until she couldn't anymore. She didn't explode, she ignited. One word, one stand, and the world bent to her will. You're not so different. That same fire's in you, smoldering beneath the ashes of every "it's fine" you've muttered. It's begging to burn, to roar, to tear through the weakness you've worn like a second skin. Can't you feel it screaming? The price of weakness isn't theirs to pay. It's yours, and you've been footing the bill too long. Machiavelli would scoff at your hesitation. He'd tell you the weak don't rule, they serve. Every time you let them overstep, you're not just losing ground, you're losing yourself. But here's the lifeline, the spark in the dark. You can stop. Right now. Anna did it with a cup of coffee and a steady gaze. You can do it with a word, a look, a choice. They don't disrespect you because they're stronger. They do it because you let them. So why keep allowing it? Why keep handing them the whip? The cage door's open, reader. Step out. Say no. And watch how fast they learn you're not the one to cross. What if one step, one word, one unshakable boundary could rewrite how the world sees you? Imagine it, a single moment where you stop bending, where you plant your feet and say, not anymore. What if that's all it takes to shed the skin of weakness and step into the armor of respect? You've been waiting for permission, haven't you? Waiting for someone to hand you the crown they've denied you. But here's the secret Machiavelli carved into stone. Respect doesn't come from them. It starts with you. It's not a gift. It's a fire you ignite within, a blaze that forces them to look up or look away. Are you ready to light it? The philosophy is stark and unshakable. You teach the world how to treat you. Every yes, every no, every line you draw or erase is a lesson they learn by heart. Weakness invites their boots on your neck. Strength makes them pause, reconsider, retreat. Machiavelli didn't beg for regard. He commanded it, not with swords, but with will. And centuries before him, Confucius laid the cornerstone. Respect yourself and others will respect you. It's not about arrogance, it's about dignity, a quiet power that says, I know my worth and you will too. You've been a student of their rules too long. Now it's time to become the teacher. What lesson will you give them? Take Mark. He was 40, stuck in a dead-end sales job, the guy who nodded at every demand. More hours, less credit, constant jabs from his team. He hated it, but he stayed silent, until a new boss pushed too far, claiming Mark's idea as her own in a meeting. He'd had enough. The next day, he walked into her office, closed the door, and said, That stops now. I'm not here to be invisible. No yelling, no threats, just a steady gaze and a voice like iron. She blinked, nodded, and from then on, his name was on every project he touched. A year later, he was leading his own team, not because he fought dirty, but because he fought smart. He became the man no one dared to slight. What could you become? I'm looking at you, reader. Right here, right now, I see you, the you who's tired of fading into the background, the you who's ready to rise. You've got that spark, that restless itch to be more than their punching bag. Are you ready? Ready to stop apologizing for existing? Ready to say no and mean it? Ready to stand so tall they can't look past you? This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about unbecoming the version they've forced you into. Mark didn't turn into a tyrant. He turned into himself, the self he'd buried under years of yes, sir, and no problem. You're next. You're ready to be the one they respect, not the one they use. This is where the air crackles, where the ground shifts beneath you. Respect isn't a negotiation, it's a declaration. You don't ask for it, you embody it. Machiavelli knew that power begins in the mind, in the choice to value yourself above their opinions. Anna, from the last chapter, found it in a coffee cup and a steady stare. Mark found it in a closed door and a firm word. And you'll find it in the mirror, in the moment you decide you're done being small. It's not easy. It's a rebirth, a shedding of the old you, the one who bowed and broke. It'll sting, it'll scare you, but it'll set you free. Because once you respect yourself, they have no choice but to follow. So here's your call, your crossroads. Keep shrinking or start growing. Keep letting them trample you or build a wall they can't climb. Confucius and Machiavelli stand behind you, whispering the same truth. It starts here with you. Mark took his stand and became a leader. Anna drew her line and silenced her critics. Now it's your turn. Look at the people who disrespect you, the co-worker, the friend, the stranger, and ask, what happens when I stop letting them? The answer is everything. They'll falter, they'll rethink, they'll fear crossing you. You're not just changing their view, you're changing your life. Step into this rebirth, reader. Become the one they can't touch, and let no one dare disrespect you again. Today is the day you stop being the floor they tread on. Feel that? The air shifting, the pulse quickening, the weight of every slight you've endured pressing down until it cracks. This isn't a quiet suggestion, it's a thunderbolt splitting the sky of your life. You've lingered too long in the shadows, bowing to their whims, swallowing their disrespect like it's your duty. No more. The game ends now, and you're the one rewriting the rules. Machiavelli's ghost stands at your shoulder, his voice a low growl. Power isn't given, it's taken. So take it. Make them silent. Let no one dare cross you again. Can you walk through the fire to come out the other side as someone they respect? That's the question burning through these words, searing into your core. Because this isn't a stroll, it's a battle. Will you face the heat, the fear, the trembling moment when you say enough, and mean it? Or will you shrink back, clutching the scraps of peace they toss you? Here's the brutal truth, most won't make it. Most will stay small, cowering in the corners of their own lives, too afraid to look their fears in the eye. They'll live and die as echoes, never voices. But not you. You're here reading this because you're different. You're ready. Prove it. I'm speaking to you, right where you stand, right where you breathe. You're not a victim, you're a warrior, and it's time you acted like one. You've felt their barbs, their smirks, their casual dismissals, and you've let them pile up, haven't you? A heap of indignities you've carried like a badge of patience. Drop it. Now, you're not here to endure, you're here to command. Anna found her strength in a single no that echoed. Mark claimed his worth with a closed door and a steady voice. And you're next. The world's waiting to see what you'll do, but it's not their move, it's yours. What will you say? What will you demand? The stakes are sky high, and the clock is ruthless. Keep bending, and they'll break you, not with force, but with apathy. They'll disrespect you because they can, because you've shown them there's no price to pay. Picture it. Years from now, looking back at a life where you were the yes man, the pushover, the ghost they forgot. That's the cost of staying still. A slow fade into nothing. A life where no one remembers your name, because you never gave them reason to. Machiavelli didn't write for the timid, he wrote for the bold, the ones who'd rather be feared than forgotten. You're not destined for the sidelines, you're built for the throne. Claim it. This is where the drama peaks, where the earth trembles under your choice. You've got the tools. The lessons of Anna's defiance, Mark's resolve, Machiavelli's cold clarity. Respect isn't a plea, it's a crown you forge in the heat of your own will. They won't hand it to you, they'll fight to keep you down, because a weak you serves them better. But you're not weak. You're a storm they haven't seen coming, a force they can't predict. Stand up, look them in the eye, the co-worker who interrupts, the friend who belittles, the stranger who assumes, and let them feel the shift. One word, one stance, one unshakable moment, and they'll falter. They'll fear. They'll respect. Your move is now, reader, and it's everything. The world's a chessboard, and you've been a pawn too long. Step into the king's square. Machiavelli's wisdom is your map. Strength silences, fear secures, respect follows. You don't need their love. You need their pause, their hesitation, their recognition that you're not the one to cross. Anna flipped the script with a coffee cup. Mark rewrote his story with a single meeting. You'll do it with your next breath, your next choice. Draw your line. Set your rules. Make them flinch at the thought of testing you. This isn't just a change, it's a revolution. Rise, warrior. Take what's yours, and let no one dare disrespect you again.